Good morning, everyone. The point of any argument is to present a claim and support it with grounds that are either inartistic, documented evidence, or artistic, a rhetorical appeal from the writer to the reader, proofs. Within the argument, certain language is used to modify, enhance, and limit the scope of the argument through certain conditions, what are known as qualifiers. All of it is connected together through a warrant, the logical connection made between the claim and the facts. This is how an argument is properly made. But when a proper argument is tainted with argumentative fallacies, the argument falls apart. Dr. Philip N. Howard, a member of the Department of Communication, defines a fallacy is an error of reasoning, and argumentative fallacies include but are not limited to ad hominem, attacking a person personally rather than their argument, hasty generalizations, conclusions drawn from inadequate examples, and faulty analogy, assuming that because two things are similar, they are the same. In order for an argument to successfully make its point to an educated audience, it must deliver, and an argument delivers when the warrant makes sense to the reader, when the claim is supported by the evidence, and is without any argumentative fallacies. Otherwise, the claim can be torn apart by those educated on the subject. Anna Quindlen's article from Newsweek, "We've Been Here Before," a critique of the Second Iraq War, is riddled with argumentative fallacies, and these fallacies destroy the validity of her claims. Anna Quindlen's article, "We've Been Here Before," takes a very staunch stance against the Second Iraq War, comparing the conflict to that of its predecessor, the Vietnam War, through this statement: not enough troops, not enough planning, no real understanding of the people or the power of the insurgency, dwindling public support. The war in Iraq is a disaster in the image and likeness of its predecessor. This is an example of the argumentative fallacy faulty analogy, incorrectly comparing two things that share some similarities as the same. The Vietnam and the Iraq War do share some similarities. In the Vietnam conflict, American forces had to deal with insurgency groups that at times were highly effective at causing disruption and chaos. And in the Iraq War, insurgents had caused similar problems also. Initially, almost 80% of the American public supported the Vietnam War up till the 10 Offensive. And in Iraq, more than 70% of the American public supported the conflict initially in 2003, with the number dropping to 38% in 2008. However, Anna Quindlen's claim that the Iraq War is a disaster is incorrect, because unlike the Vietnam War, a war the United States lost, the United States won the Iraq War. The goal of the Vietnam War was to limit the spread of communism in Indochina and limit the power and influence of the Soviet Union or USSR. And the United States failed in its objective. The goal of the Second Iraq War was to destroy the Iraqi dictatorship under Saddam Hussein, to create a democratic system for the Iraqi people to determine their own future. And the United States succeeded in its objective. While there are many, like Anna Quindlen, who argued that the Second Iraq War was morally wrong, unjustified, illegal, unconstitutional, as many high-profile characters said about the Vietnam War. Unlike in the Vietnam War, a war the United States lost, The United States, despite the costs, achieved victory in the Second Iraq War. Anna Quindlen's article is laced with many personal attacks against former President George W. Bush, formerly Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. Armed Forces during the time of this article's publication, 2010, an argumentative fallacy ad hominem. Anna Quindlen's claims George Bush is uncaring. The president wanted this to be about policy, not about people. Arrogance, which the president embodies. Egotistic, Bush appears merely peevish at being criticized. Cold, a president who has not attended a single funeral for the Iraq War dead. Blind and stubborn, a man who is stubborn and calls it strength, who wears blinders and calls it vision. I could go on. While some cases of ad hominem, as what Anna Quindlen has just engaged in, and I've given you the examples, are usually fallacious, they can be legitimate when a character critique is directly or indirectly related to the point being articulated. However, while good or fair uses of ad hominem critiques should, in fact, persuade us, whereas unwarranted uses should not, Anna Quindlen's critiques are unwarranted. Why? Because if a person argues another has bad character, which may or may not be true, does not mean that the claims of that person are incorrect, and accusations like these can easily foreclose on intelligent discourse. Personal attacks regarding an individual's character that are relevant to the conclusions being drawn can be justified, but personal attacks based on one's opposition to a political position, in this case, Anna Quindlen's opposition to the Second Iraq War, cannot be justified. This means Quindlen's claims that former President George W. Bush was uncaring, cold, blind, stubborn, and egotistic have no merit to them, because the claims are not only irrelevant to whether the Iraq War was justified or not, they are unfair and unsupported by any facts or examples. After all, if you're going to make these sort of claims in your article, you need to include examples. Anna Quindlen's article is also filled with hasty generalizations about the American people, another argumentative fallacy. Quindlen states, the most unattractive trait of the American empire is American arrogance. If we are such a great nation, why are we utterly incapable of learning from our mistakes? The argument here is that Americans have created a global empire built on arrogance and as a result are incapable of learning from the past. The example she uses is the Second Iraq War, which she compares to the Vietnam War. This is all Quindlen uses to support her claim that Americans are arrogant of world affairs and unable to prevent repeating the past. This is a flawed statement, not only because its defense is only one single example, unsupported, and as shown earlier, the Vietnam and Iraq wars were two different kinds of conflicts, showing that this is also a bigoted statement. American society has its share of arrogant and even stupid individuals. But that does not mean the United States is engaged in a similar conflict from the past as what Quindlen claims. It's a very broad stroke statement and simply meant to evoke emotions. It is not supported by facts. Anna Quindlen's article, We've Been Here Before, fails to present to its reader a sound argument or case against the Second Iraq War. It fails to do this because We've Been Here Before is filled with argumentative fallacies that undermine the claim and warrant of Quindlen's article that Iraq is another Vietnam, or was another Vietnam, sorry. And this part of American history should not repeat itself. By incorrectly comparing the Second Iraq War to the Vietnam War, attacking the personal character of the former Commander-in-Chief, George W. Bush, and accusing the American people of bad character traits, Quindlen's argument falls apart because argumentative fallacies, such as these, destroy an argument. Instead, Quindlen could have presented her case in an intelligent, proper, and convincing manner. Another article written by Donald Stoker titled, "Insurgencies Rarely Win and Iraq Won't Be Any Different," maybe, presented a claim that the troop surge in Iraq could work so long as certain conditions were met, and to warrant that history proves insurgencies can win, but they also can lose. It presents these without any argumentative fallacies, using artistic and inartistic proofs to make its case. No incorrect comparisons and no impersonal attacks, which Quindlen could have done, but didn't. She fails to convince the reader because of these logical fallacies, which destroy her case. Instead, when it comes to the war of thoughts and ideas, Quindlen's article, "We've Been Here Before," just like America and Vietnam, fails its mission objectives. But thankfully, in Iraq, the United States, Great Britain, and our allies succeeded in completing its mission objectives. Thank you very much for listening. This was an audio essay, and I hope that you enjoyed listening. I hope that you will support my work. If you wish to do so, you can do so through Ko-Fi. I would very much appreciate any financial assistance you can give to help continue my content. If you'd like to give me a follow on Twitter, you can please do so as well. That is the social media site where I am the most active. And I certainly hope that you will follow me and like my tweets if you wish, and retweet. I also do have a Gab account. I'm not very active on the site, but I will be changing that soon. So I hope if you have a Gab, you will also follow me there. If you wish to ask me a question, and are curious about something, please feel free to do so also on Curious Cat. You can ask me a question there. Just be notified that if you have an account, in order to ask me a question, you must have at least been an account holder there for a week. If you ever wish to see me or interested in the video games that I like to play in my personal pastime when I'm available, please follow me on my Steam. And you can also feel free to see the games that I play. And I certainly hope that perhaps you will play those ones yourself. If you wish to keep up to date with the books I am reading or are interested in the books that I have read and my reviews upon them, please feel free to go to my Goodreads account as well. I do try to regularly read and post updates to what I am reading and what I have read, and I certainly hope that you will take a listen. If you are listening to this, obviously you are listening either via YouTube or via Twitch, and I hope that you will follow on both. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you all have a great day, and don't forget, everyone, continue to pursue the neoconservative cause, and don't forget, death to all tyrants.